Welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio tools. The relationship between the Roland brand and this show is a very special one. Around 25% of all Bad Gear protagonists are descendants of the houses Roland and Boss. This doesn't make Roland a bad brand. It's just like one of these musical artists who released so many albums that even die-hard fans lost track. And not all albums can be a Sgt. Pepper's. Today we are going to talk about the Roland MT-32. This 1987 multi-timbral sound module was originally designed with amateur musicians in mind, but the nerds over at Sierra, one of the OG 80s game developers, had other plans, and this little black box quickly evolved into an early de facto standard for computer game music. One thing that might get overlooked in all that retro gaming hype is that the MT-32 is not only a quick and dirty provider of 80s bread and butter sounds, but it's also a deep and complex synth surprisingly similar to Roland's then state-of-the-art flagship model, the D50. Let's take a closer look. At the first glance, the Roland MT-32 is ticking all the "honey, I shrunk the VHS player" boxes. Traditional Roland display, rudimentary controls for 6 of the 9 voices, MIDI and stereo outs. The more sought-after new version has headphone outputs too. All this doesn't look like a lot of fun, but the MT-32 is all about the inner values anyway. The Synth engine offers 32 voices of polyphony and is based on Roland's LA technology, which can also be found in the more upscale instruments of the D range. LA synthesis employs a combination of short, low-res PCM samples, mostly used for the attack phase, and a VA synth section for the body of the tone, a method originally conceived to battle Yamaha's dominating FM technology. Right out of the box, the MT-32 provides not-so-cool pianos, proper simulations of acoustic instruments, and some digital Roland synth classics. Just like its FM counterpart, LA synthesis is not known for being user-friendly. But fear not, no menu diving is necessary. You have to sysax the hell out of this little unit. The manual is not always helpful when it comes to forging the correct sysax strings, so I want to thank Rancy for assisting me in the process of reverse engineering some of the system-exclusive messages. There are plenty of software editors, but most of them don't work on contemporary computers. The rather costly MIDI quest aside, JSynth-lib seems to be the most promising solution, but I couldn't get it to run on any of my machines. Leave a comment if you were luckier than me. As mentioned earlier, the MT-32 has a reputation of being the gold standard for retro game MIDI playback. However, it does not comply with General MIDI specifications, simply because General MIDI wasn't around in 1987. There are some similarities, and people call it the granddaddy of the 1991 standard. You can emulate General MIDI behavior by sending a dedicated MIDI file, but I assume it would require some further tweaking to make the Rise of the Triad soundtrack shine. Of course, there are games that offer native MT-32 support, and Sierra classics like Monkey Island 2 do sound fantastic. Speaking of Sierra, there's a library of sysax files that contains many of their custom sounds. Nice. The unit will suffer from amnesia when turned off, there's a noisy reverb, and if you really want that super authentic retro gaming experience, you will have to invest in an MIF card and MPU 401 breakout box too. Pragmatic heretics might stick to DOSBox and the Munt MT-32 emulator. It goes without saying that MT-32s are dramatically overpriced, and I want to thank Vienna's very own synth repair wizard Thomas for lending me his unit. Gaming nostalgia aside, Is the MT-32 still worth the hassle of 80s MIDI archaeology, or are there more convenient options for making music? You have already heard the MT-32 in our little intro tune. That's a solid collection of 80s music production staples. Multitimbrality and a respectable polyphony count were essential features at the time of the unit's release. Let's see if it still holds up. Nothing wrong with these sounds. They do have a certain 80s flavor, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I didn't run into obvious polyphony issues, and managing basic parameters like volume and program changes with a Digitact works like a charm. Deep within the innocent-looking enclosure of the MT-32 hides a subtractive synthesizer. I wanna know if we can make it more accessible using last week's A01's SysX functionality in this very Roland setup. Interesting. The somewhat plasticky sounding subtractive synth section offers a wide tonal variety, and it's no surprise that it strongly reminds me of Roland's D range. Hands-on controls for selected parameters are nice, but you will need a software editor for in-depth patch editing. The MT-32 is a complex instrument, but I assume most people just want that instant retro throwback. Let's see if it can deliver exactly that and some more in this Monkey Quest Space Commander in the prehistoric land of LeChuck's Steel Sky digital marble machine mock-up. Let's get this out of the way first. True fans of the MT-32 will not accept any substitutes. It is an integral part of many authentic retro gaming setups, and it offers a very specific flavor of LA synthesis. This being said, however powerful and unique the MT-32 might be, it isn't the most convenient solution if you want this kind of sound for game soundtrack playback and music production. Munt is pretty spot on, and although the sonic peculiarities of the MT-32 can be seen as the secret sauce of a track, the overall tone is very similar to that of other members of the D family, especially the D110. I know the D110 received quite some criticism on this show for having a terrible UI, but at least it has one. Regardless of reasoning, if you were, like me, one of the kids that had to play the Pirates of Pastelon to the enervating beeps of a cheap sound blaster, or worse, the internal speaker, the MT-32 is indeed the big whoop, and you must have it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron and leave a comment what other kind of gear you would like to see and hear on the show.